I kind of like going defense with the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, they spent up massive draft capital to grab Kyle Pitts, potential Julio Jones replacement. There is some talk that they could go RB here, but I just look at Atlanta, and are they really going to spend their first 2 picks on just skill positions, especially knowing that their defense isn't that deep? Like, lost Keanu Neal in the offseason. The corners really didn't work out well last year. Still could use some pass rush help. I just feel like at this point, even with a little bit of juice attached, there's a lot of good defensive players on the board, safeties. I feel like Atlanta most likely going to go defense in the second round, and those odds are pretty appealing.
All right, Reid, what do you think? Any teams in particular you'd like to target for this bet?
Yeah, like a lot of these picks, right? They're kind of heavy on one side, letting the juice. But here's one with the Jets' third pick. I think they address the running back position. I think they go offense at plus 100. I think you have to, right? You got some pretty aging running backs in that backfield that you need to shore up there. And so I do think the Jets go offensive player. But I'm in agreement with Jeff. I think Atlanta, they have to address that back end of that defense. And Asante Samuel is still sitting out there. So I do think they go after him there. So if it's not the Jets at plus 100 for an offensive player, I do like the Falcons.
What do you think, Garion?
I think the last half of the first round was kind of interesting in the sense that not a lot of offensive tackles went. There's so many offensive linemen with back-end first-round grades just sitting out there. And it really couldn't have gone better for a couple teams. I know this is kind of a chalky pick. You got to lay a lot of juice, but Cincinnati to take an offensive lineman is minus 335. That's like 95 to 98% going to happen. They need to take an offensive lineman. And I think you could use similar logic with the Dolphins. They're minus 167 to take an offensive player. You could get an offensive lineman specifically at plus 150, but they also might take a running back. That's plus 300. So, they were attached to possibly Najee Harris at pick 18. They might have taken Sewell at pick 6. Like, the writing's on the wall that they need these positions to be filled. So I think Miami minus 167 take an offensive player is a pretty good bet.
All right, well, you can already get in on Rookie of the Year on the DK Sportsbook. Trevor Lawrence is the favorite at plus 300, but would he be your pick, Reid?
No, I mentioned this player in that last segment. I think Travis Etienne is someone that I really like. You need someone who's going to pad the stats, right? Justin Herbert last year was amazing because the defense on the Chargers side was not, right? Or they were just putting up a ton of points because he was that good and he had that type of offense. So if it's not one of these quarterbacks, then yeah, I like for value's sake Travis Etienne at plus 1,400. But I also do think that guys like Justin Fields, play it out right now, have a really good shot because you want someone who's going to start right away, obviously. And we haven't seen a receiver win this award in a while. It's been running backs or quarterbacks, I think, over the last 4 years. Kamara, Saquon Barkley, and then Justin Herbert. So I like Travis Etienne for the value at plus 1,400 if it's not a quarterback like Justin Fields at plus 600.
Gary, are you interested in Trevor Lawrence here as the favorite or not really?
I mean, I'm interested. Sure. He's probably going to win and you're getting him at plus money. It's not a terrible bet. I would say I was surprised by how low Zach Wilson's odds are, considering that of the 4 quarterbacks that are right now on top of the board, he is the longest odds at 10-1, yet he's one of the 2 guys I think we can say definitively will be starting week 1. So as Reid said, this is an award that is generally going to either the quarterback or the running back that has the most volume, the most opportunity. And while there's a good chance, again, that Trevor Lawrence is just going to run away with this award, I think Wilson's odds are a little off for me because if he's healthy, he's just going to rack up volume stats like Justin Fields might not have a chance to.
Jeff, where do you sit on this one?
Oh, man, I want to recommend some of these wide receivers, but, these guys have already kind of touched on it. If a QB has even like a solid season, he's probably going to get picked over the wide receiver for this award. We saw it happen last year. Justin Jefferson put up a historic rookie season. He still didn't win the award. So Devontae Smith looks really tempting at plus 2,000. He's going to be the Eagles' leading receiver. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder after people talking about his weight all offseason as well. So I do kind of like that, but I'm just going to go with Justin Fields at plus 400. He's going to start for Chicago. He's got Allen Robinson. He's got Darnell Mooney as a deep shot. I've always been big on Justin Fields, and I think it's a better spot for him to land than Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jaguars are going to try and run the ball a lot. I think Lawrence might rack up some rushing yards, but I think Justin Fields might be the guy here to really kind of, again, play with the chip on his shoulder after falling. And he's fallen into a pretty good spot with a really, really top end wide receiver. So I'll say Justin Fields at plus 400.
All right, you can also look at the other side of the ball and choose the defensive rookie of the year. Micah Parsons leading the pack at plus 500. Garion, who do you like here?
I think the interesting thing to think about with this one is we don't really know how Micah Parsons is going to be used in Dallas. Like, is he going to rush the passer? Is he going to be someone they're using in coverage a little bit more? Like, it's a little unclear. And I think with defensive rookie of the year, you have to go after one of two statistical categories: interceptions or sacks. Like, it's impact plays, essentially. You're not going to get it for making 110 tackles. So I look at someone like Kwity Paye, who is in a great situation in Indianapolis. Like, first and foremost, they just know how to coach a defense. And he's going to be lining up with DeForest Buckner, who is drawing 2 or 3 offensive linemen essentially every time he's on the field. So Paye's going to be out there always getting single coverage, maybe getting some tight ends. I think he could rack up 10, 11 sacks. I mean, he was a lot of people's number one edge rusher on the board, had a couple medical issues like a week before the draft, but it seems like that was all cleared up. So at 10-1, I think he's got a really good chance considering where he could have an impact on the stat sheet.
All right, Jeff, real quick, we got like a minute left.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page as Gary, and fade the favorites here. Go after the sacks and interceptions. Caleb Farrelly for the Titans, probably going to start, coming off an injury, plus 2,500, big odds. And Gregory Rousseau, another DE who could get some sacks for you. I like both those guys.
Reid.
Yeah, it's J.C. Horn. Like Gary mentioned, going after the interceptions. Carolina was one of the worst teams. They were like the most targeted outside team with the opposing offense in the division that they play. He could have an opportunity to get a bunch of interceptions if he's chalked up to what Julian and everyone thought he was. So give me J.C. Horn plus 1,600 if it's not one of these edge guys.